Okay, we can get started. So we're on time with all the content that we want to share today. We are recording, so it's super important to have your microphone muted. We will have a Q&A section at the end. We do want to be mindful of everyone's time, and we will have a replay. We will be recording, so we'll have a replay for everyone that couldn't join today. But so they have all this valuable information that we're going to be sharing today. So thank you for the people that are here, and you'll have a chance to ask more valuable questions at the end for me and for Dana. So, Dana, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself so we can get started?
Absolutely. So, for everyone that does not know me, my name is Dana Bahr. I am the founder of Dana's Desk and the Unapologetic Pinner podcast. I am extremely passionate about helping service based entrepreneurs build Pinterest into a visibility engine that compounds for years instead of just disappearing every 24 to 48 hours with traditional social media. I think we are all very busy. Keep balancing many of the things in the departments and roles that comes with owning a business, and if we can find a way for our content that we're creating to work longer and harder for us so that we can stay close to the passion that we had in the beginning, the better. So bring all the questions. I can eat, sleep, and breathe organic content and how it can work for you as a magnet.
Awesome. And I'll present myself quickly. My name is Miriam Alvarez with Found Brands. It's a branding agency where we work every day building brands from scratch. Sometimes we work with businesses that have already been in business for many, many years and need a brand refresh or what we call a rebranding. So that's what we do. We specialize on perfecting the visual identity for those businesses that need to connect correctly to their audience. So we've been doing this for over 10 years, almost 12 years this year. So it's been a great journey learning from many, many, many businesses along the way. And well, part of what I'm going to share with you are the tools that we use to be able to get those businesses on the right track in terms of their brand. So thank you for being here. Yay. So I think it's time for us to go directly into the content. So we're going to get started with this free live webinar called Beyond the Logo. We're going to be talking about how building a brand that gets seen, recognized, and remembered is possible. We don't need to have huge budgets or be a large company to be able to use the tools that we're going to share with you today. Let's go right to it. So, my first question to everyone watching this webinar here with us in this webinar would be, do you have a logo? Because usually when we think about branding, we think about brands, we think about logos. And I'm going to answer that question for you, no matter if you say yes or if you say no. You are in the right place, because if you don't have it yet, then that means there's an opportunity to get really important things in place first. And if you already have it, that's okay too. We're just on time to get the rest of the information that you need to actually have a complete brand. So that's okay, no matter if you have a logo or you do not. Doesn't matter if you're looking to create a personal brand or a commercial brand or a product or something else, that's fine too. So if we see all of the different logos that we have there on the right, we'll be able to recognize many of the brands there. They're big brands. We see PayPal, we'll see Starbucks, we see McDonald's, a lot of really recognizable brands. We recognize their logo. The thing is that the logo is not the only thing that they have, right? So the positioning that they managed to create in our minds is not based only on the logo. But what usually happens is that a logo is where most business owners start and where they stop. So I had, like mentioned before, I work with small business owners. Usually when they come to us, they ask for a brand and they immediately want to jump straight into creating a logo. But what we do at Found Brands is we go back a little. Some of the steps that need to be taken before to be able to actually have everything in place to be able to create a logo, to be able to create a brand. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about here. So just to make sure we understand something really important, and if you understand this, you're going to have a huge advantage compared to other people out there that believe they know what branding is. A logo is not a brand, right? So, a logo, for example, the logo that we see right here, super recognizable. Even if you're not a customer, you know what it is. It's the Apple logo. It's a mark, it's a symbol, it's the thing people recognize at a glance, right? So, it's that symbol that helps us recognize the brand, of course. But a brand actually is everything people think, feel, and expect from the business, that expect from the brand. So, for example, I here at on the right, I placed a photograph of one of the Apple stores. And I've been to Apple stores all over many countries actually. And no matter which Apple store I walk into, the vibe is the same. The experience is the same. The products are displayed the same. The experience is even if it's a different layout for the store, it's always consistent. So that is what creates and reinforces the experience of the brand. And we're going to understand how you get to that point with any brand. So a strong brand is built through strategy. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about. It's never by accident. No matter how successful you see a brand or an entrepreneur be, it's never by accident. There's always a strategy behind it. And a brand requires a complete system to be able to perform on every channel and every touch point of your customer's journey. And I don't want to fill you with a lot of like marketing jargon and stuff like that. I'm going to explain what I mean by complete system. A complete system means not only a logo, but a set of different assets that are going to help us create what our brand needs to create to communicate. When I mention every channel, I mean, for example, every channel we communicate in. It could be email, it could be social media, it could be our website, it could be printed materials. That's what I mean with every channel. And when I talk about touch points, that means every interaction that we have with the client is a touch point. So, for example, even a text message can be a touch point for our brand and our client. The website is a touch point, of course. The social media is a touch point. Every interaction is a touch point. And the customer journey is basically the map, per se, that the journey that our client takes from uncovering or discovering us to purchase and then the experience that they have after. That would be like a super concise version of a customer journey. But one exercise I would really invite you to do, because again, a lot of business owners do not ever think about this, is draw a line. It doesn't have to be straight, it can be a curve, however you want it. Draw it on a piece of paper and start mapping the different moments where your client has an interaction with your brand. Where do they find you? Do they find you online? Do they find you at a store? What's the first interaction? And then go through every single process point of the process that it takes for them to purchase from you, and then what happens after. You'll start uncovering different opportunities for you to make your brand richer and to make the brand experience even better. So that's a great exercise to do for any business owner. Again, a lot of people don't do that. They just focus on what's going to happen when they're ready to purchase from me. But again, what happens before, what happens after is just as important for a strong brand. So, three things we need to do, and exactly in this order, is take a look at our brand strategy. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Take a look at a brand system. If we don't have it, maybe we just have a logo, but we don't have anything else. And brand visibility, which is part of what Dana is going to share with us to be able to get the brand strategy, get the brand system to work for us. We need to become visible. So, talking specifically about brand strategy, where that's the foundation everything else stands on. Strategy is the thinking that comes before design. So we should never start designing anything for a brand if we don't have a strategy first. So I'm going to share with you four elements of brand strategy. Doesn't mean that those are the only things, but these categories are super important. These areas are super important. If you can sit down, start writing about them, clarify them for your brand, again, you're going to have a huge advantage compared to other small business owners because believe me, they're not thinking about this. They're worried about the sales, but everything that comes before that, they're ignoring because they don't really have this information sometimes. So when it comes to positioning, it means where you sit in the market and in your customer's mind, obviously. So, for example, if you're a new product that means you're competing with number one out there. You're not number one. You have to act like a new product, and your strategy for introducing that new product has to be aligned to that. So, just an example of positioning. So, is there a number one out there? Is there a lot of competition there? Where am I in the mind of the consumer? Maybe they don't know me yet because I'm just getting started, right? In terms of audience, it's really important to understand who you're for, and just as importantly, who you're not for. Because I've heard also business owners share, well, everyone is my client. Everyone, that, for example, everyone that owns a car is my client because, I'm a body shop, for example, right? That is really far from the truth because again, depending on how you design the experience of the body shop, where you're located, your price points, everything you can offer, you can start deciding on who that audience is. And that way you get way more clarity about, again, what your strategies are going to be to communicate, how your design has to look. So, audience is super important. We're definitely not for everyone. And if we understand who we're not for, that's even better because we know how to speak to our audience once we know who they are. The third thing is promise. What can you consistently deliver every single time? And then again, I'm going to repeat every single time because again, it's what's expected of us. And if we're not clear on what that promise is, we may not understand how we're different from our competition. So, actually writing down our promise to our client, again, that would be super important to have to be able to have a clear strategy. And the fourth one would be personality. So, this is the voice and character that make you you in terms of personal branding or that make your design make your brand unique, right? So the personality is super important. It's not the same designing for a brand or having a brand for a business that is loud and that's full of energy, or maybe a business that's sophisticated, elegant, and warm. It all depends what they're offering. It depends who their audience is again. It depends what the promise is. It depends what the positioning is at the moment. So these four things are not the only things we see in brand strategy, but are really important for you to really sit down and understand for your brand to gain so much clarity moving forward. So without strategy, every choice is a guess, right? What is my competitor doing today? Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll hop on the next trend because I can see people getting results from it, right? That happens when we don't understand our strategy first. So, strategy answers the harder question, which is why should anybody care about what I'm offering, right? Once that's clear, every color, right? Just talking about branding, every word and image has a job to do. So, let's go directly to the brand system. We already have our brand strategy, we clarified who our audience is. Now, let's translate it into something visual. So here's where strategy becomes something people can see and feel. Again, it's a system, it's not a single asset. So, in terms of visual identity or a visual system for your brand, that would include a logo. And again, not just one version of the logo. A lot of big brands need different variations of the same logo to work depending on what platform is going to be seen. Color, typography, imagery, graphic language, the look people recognize. That's the visual part of the system. And the verbal part of the system would be the voice, the tone, the messaging. What words can you own for your brand to be able to recognize in terms of how it speaks? Again, your logo is just one piece of the system, not the whole thing. So having all of this really creates a brand system. One thing that I like to share a lot with clients because usually what we think is that people get bored of seeing the same thing from our brand. The same colors, the same imagery, sometimes, the same messages again and again. But what I'm going to tell you is that recognition is built on repetition. And you, as a business owner, may get a little frustrated with, well, I'm always seeing the same things and putting out the same things in terms of messaging and design. Maybe my client wants to see something new, right? In terms of the style or the design of the brand. And we keep changing it consistently. But the same colors, the same voice, the same feel on your website, in your inbox, across the feed, really create that recognition. And I'm sharing a product that everybody can recognize. Again, I've been to many Starbucks all over, and it's always the same experience because as clients, as customers, we don't really like surprises, even though we may say we like surprises. We like consistency, right? It makes us feel safe. And if you go into any Starbucks, they all smell the same. You say it smells like coffee. No, it smells like Starbucks. The uniform for the baristas are the same. The cup is the same. The menu is even the same. They just vary a little bit depending on the country, but you'll always find your favorite drink. So every single thing in terms of graphic design and in terms of what they're offering is always consistent. And people like that. They want to know what to expect. So consistency is what turns a first impression into actually being remembered. So that's why it's so important. And this image, I did not create it myself, but you'll be able to find many versions of it online. Just to better understand what all of this actually means, you'll see brand strategy as the part of the iceberg that is not visible. As you can see, there's many other things that we didn't talk about today in terms of brand strategy, but it's super important. It's what's holding everything, and that what people actually see is the top of the iceberg, right? Which is the branding and the visual identity, the logo, the colors, all of those things. But we do need the brand strategy below it, holding everything together and making it visible. So, in terms of brand visibility, which is again super important as well, because the best brand in the world does nothing if it's not seen. So, I've had experiences where clients build a beautiful brand, they're ready to go out into the market, they have their website ready, and then they sit and wait for the clients to come knocking to their website, right? If it's virtual, or their business if it's something that is physical. But we do need to get visibility to be able to have the brand system and the brand strategy work for us. So a strategy and system prepare you to be found, but visibility actually gets you the clients, right? So you can have a sharp positioning, a beautiful system, but if no one sees it, it can't really work for you. So that's why it's really important. So where can we become visible? Obviously, we can become visible in many platforms nowadays. There's so many opportunities, but we do need to be strategic in which ones are going to work better for our brand. So that's where again, we can go back to our strategy, we can go back to our brand system and see which one would be better for our brand. So the thing here is strategy, then the system, and then visibility. That's a brand that works. So a logo gets you noticed, but these three keep you remembered. That's what we want. So how do we become visible? So we're going to talk about one of the most powerful visibility engines for service providers, for creatives, also for people that sell products in many ways or forms. That is search. And that's why we're going to talk about one of those platforms here. There's no one better to take it from here than my co-host Dana Bahr. So I'm going to leave the rest of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I feel like I was nodding my head along to quite a bit of the things you were saying. Like, I totally agree.
I'm gonna stop
Okay.
sharing.
Yep. I was going to say, let me get my screen back and all my things in the right order.
So we will have some Q&A at the end in case you have some questions about what I've just shared, in case you have some questions about what Dean is going to share right now. All questions are welcome, and you can take this opportunity to ask something really specific that would work for you, for your brand. So
Yes. I was gonna that was like a super strong foundation for building a foundation and everything. Cause that's usually in my expertise, like getting clear on who you are and what you stand for, who you're serving, who you're not serving. I do like that you pointed that out as well, because when that was the hard lesson I feel like I learned when I first launched my business is I was trying to talk to everybody because I needed to make money. I was a new business. But I really started making not I don't even say more money, but better money because it didn't come with all the headaches because I was attracting the right people that I could work
yeah.
with well, that we just collaborated. It was good. So an amazing foundation. So if you're sticking along this far, my job for the next several minutes is what happens after you have done the strategy. You've not only done your logo, but you've done the whole strategy. Because once the foundation is in place, the question now is how does the right person continuously find you? How do you continuously get discovered now that you've built this amazing brand? Because, like Miriam was saying, if they can't find you, it's not gonna grow. So Pinterest is my favorite engine of choice because it's not, it's not social media. It is lumped in there. If you start looking at different apps and things, it does get lumped in, but Pinterest is very different. The mindset of the Pinterest user is to search, not to doom scroll. They're actively looking for ideas, services, inspiration, solutions to whatever their various pain points are, which makes it a completely different tool than what most of us are used to. I know. So, my background is in weddings and events. And so I am very comfortable and familiar with Pinterest from the user standpoint of like, I was working with couples and they're trying to give me these words and explain, like, oh, I want this all white bohemian wedding. Well, what does that look like to you? How can I make your vision come to life? And so we would constantly be searching for on Pinterest to not only find the photo inspiration, but then to find the vendors who could accomplish that vision of theirs. But all white bohemian wedding can still mean a variety of different things depending on the couple. And so that's where discoverability and keywords comes into place. And knowing that mindset that this is why they're there is very important. And here's what that means. Pinterest is not social media. So content on Instagram, it's great. It is, it's a good vibe check for people to understand like behind the scenes and how you do things. But you post something and you'll get that spike or wave of attention. But if you do not consistently show up on that platform, your content is buried under the next post and it's only visible for about 48 hours. This is what, happens to content on Pinterest though. You publish a pin and it might be slow at first, especially if you're just new to the platform, because it has to index or really understand what type of content you create, learn that you're a credible resource. Your website is, not full of error messages or anything like that. It doesn't seem like spam, but Pinterest rewards you for relevancy. So, what people search is going to help keep your content in circulation. So, a pin you publish this month can still be driving traffic to your website 6 months from now, this time next year, even 3 years from now. I have worked with podcasters who have content like traffic going to certain podcast episodes because it's showing up in the ways that people are searching. And that's the difference between social media and a search engine. And Pinterest is a visual search engine. So it takes the beautiful images that you would and are putting on Facebook and Instagram and combines it with the SEO power that is Google or Bing or any other search engine that you use. If you've been pouring effort into content that disappears every 48 hours, it's overwhelming and it's easy to feel like you're failing at marketing. And that's not true. You're just using a wrong tool for the job you're actually trying to do. I never say to not use social media. It is, like I said, it's great for a vibe check. It's great for connecting with your users, but it's not built for discoverability. So, what we're going to do in the time we have left is I'm going to give you essentially the engine or the system that takes your branding foundation and helps make it discoverable or findable for years by the people who are actively searching for what you do. And so the framework that I teach and I built over the years is called the veil method. 4 steps. I love simplicity. I don't like tracking things out. And it stands for V is visibility. Are you actually being found? Before you build anything new, you need to know what's working right now and what's staying invisible. E is for evergreen. Does your content last? This is where you stop treating every piece of content like a one-time post or a one-time launch and treating it like a library of assets you can use for years, because your lead magnet that you create or the products that you make are relevant today and they're going to be relevant next year because they're helping someone better themselves in some way, when that can be a product or a service. I is for intentional. Is what you're putting out there aligned with what you actually want to book? This is again like throwing spaghetti and just hoping you get a client, you get a booking when you first launch your business. Now is time to be intentional so that the business you do get is intentional. And Not every board, every pin, every client, every customer has earned its place. So being intentional with what you're putting out there helps filter everything through your real revenue goals and how you want to balance your business with everything else. And then finally, L is leads. The main reason why we're in business is we need leads. Does your Pinterest presence lead somewhere? Every pin needs a destination, and that destination needs to do something. That's the whole system. 4 steps in that particular order. And I'm going to be honest, for the sake of time, I'm not going to do a deep dive on all 4 of these. What I'm going to do is take you on a deep dive through just one of them, and that's the evergreen piece, because I feel like that's the biggest mindset shift that many of us need to view our content through is how can we make it evergreen and last longer and address pain points for a longer period of time? Because until you make the shift, that shift, this step, none of the rest of it's going to land. So that's where I wanted to spend most of our time. So the one line that I want you to remember from this entire workshop on my side of things is if nothing lands, this is it. You are not short on content. You could probably look in your phone right now, not even touching your laptop or your desktop, and have a plethora of content, videos, graphics, something that you've created. You're not short on content. What we are typically short on as small business owners is a system. Most of the people I work with come to me convinced that they have a content problem. You probably have blog content. You've probably guessed it on podcasts. You've been on a directory somewhere. You have content. They think that they need to create more, post more, they need 10 lead magnets, something to be more visible. But what we actually look at when I start working with them is I don't start creating a new content plan. I look at the work they've already produced, the projects they've already delivered, the assets that already exist in the many Google Cloud drives that we have sitting there collecting virtual dust. It just needs to be organized in a way to do something. And so evergreen mapping is that process of taking the work you've already done and building that strategy and turning it into content that keeps working for you long after the moment that it was created. And the reason this is possible on Pinterest and not on Instagram is what I showed you a minute ago. Pinterest is going to index your content. It's going to categorize it. It's going to keep it in rotation as long as it's connected to relevant keywords and a destination worth visiting. So none of those 404 error messages, which means one piece of work, so one blog post, one product page, one client case study isn't just one post. It's a content library with multiple doors, all leading to that one piece where you can build that no like trust factor and guide them towards the next step in the funnel, whether that's getting to know you, going ahead and buying a product, joining your newsletter list, whatever the destination is. So I have a specific example, and like I said, I have a wedding background, but I will tie it into non-wedding related searches as well. But I want to show you exactly what I mean. Like I said, I work with a lot of wedding professionals, so I am going to start there because it's what I know best, but I have worked with other industries as well. So this right here is obviously a ceremony art from, like a garden wedding, a florist, designed it potentially last spring, probably 2 years ago. It's a beautiful piece of work. After the event, you're going to get a gallery back from the photographer and maybe post this on Instagram maybe 1 to 3 times, maybe turn it into a reel or a carousel. And then typically what happens is you move on to the next client and you start showcasing the next wedding because Instagram is a platform where we say, I was at a wedding or I'm currently at a wedding with like your stories and things. But what happens when we treat this image as a content library instead of a one time post, you can get 5 to 10 different viewpoints, all from this same one image. So, for instance, pin number 1, this is like the full installation shot. You get the whole context of what this arch is representing, and that's romantic garden ceremony arch with ivory and blush florals, and the pin reaches couples that are searching for ceremony inspiration. Perfect. They're on your website. For the second one or second doorway, you can do a more close up of a detail shot showing the texture and the layering of the florals. and you can title it around those specific flowers or the specific color palette or the specific design style. And so that pin is going to reach a different person, someone maybe further along in the planning looking for specific florals as opposed to just the broad ceremony. That's the second look or second pin, second doorway, doorways. A third pin idea is the color palette specific, where you pull directly from the floral tones titled around the palette itself. So, ivory and blush spring wedding palette. That pin is going to reach couples who are deciding on their color story, the vibe of their day, the aesthetic of their day, a little more broad, but not ceremony specific broad. So they're in a different place of their planning journey, but it's again the same photo. Doorway number 4 could lead to a blog post instead of the gallery or instead of the contact page. So same image, but read more, you would add more of a text overlay and a call to action, read more in the blog. And this could link to a write up about how the design came together in the first place, how you coordinated with the different vendors, how you collaborate with people, with a team, how you showed up for the couple, maybe share a fun, dramatic, it rained right before their day. A torrential downpour just threw everything, and we were still saved the day because XYZ, however you showed your expertise. This pin is going to build traffic to your website. It's going to build trust because now they can read through your process. It's not just vanity metrics for this is beautiful and it's an impression. Even though that does help, we want to guide them. So this is leading to more traffic. And then doorway number 5 is more of a seasonal inspiration. This does help with the longevity of it because it can be positioned for couples planning just spring garden weddings. So every spring, really every fall, when couples are newly getting engaged and planning their spring wedding, they're going to start searching for that. And so it's going to show up again and again every time someone searches for spring garden weddings. That pin is going to reach them months before their event is actually in place, but they're actively searching and they're in different places of the funnel. So this one ceremony arch created multiple doorways to attract multiple different searches all to the same location. So once it's published, again, it can keep driving traffic to this planner or this photographer, this florist website for years. And she didn't have to create any new content. She just took what she had and used it in a more strategic way by using a system instead of a one and done. So, like I said, I know not everyone is in the wedding industry in this room. So, I want to talk about how this could look if you're a coach or a consultant, maybe an interior designer, anyone whose business is built around delivering work or a product to your clients. So let's say that you're a business coach and you just finished a 6-month partnership with a client. You saw big results, a real transformation in the longevity of their business. And most coaches will post maybe a carousel and a reel, maybe a story showing the testimonial, and they'll create the case study on their website and then move on. Like that's it. And here's what that could look like on Pinterest so that it gets indexed and resurfaces again and again. So you can have the before and after case study, multiple doorways leading to that blog post. Then you can talk about the specific framework that you used, a testimonial from that client, the mindset shifts. Those are different pain points that you can utilize on Pinterest that someone's going to be searching for and walking them through and funneling them to that one case study, that one blog post. So each of them is a different pin reaching a different person searching for a different thing, but they all need the same expertise and support. You're just meeting them where they're at. So one piece of real work can become 5, 8, 10 distinct pieces of content, each one designed to be found by someone different, all of them your ideal client, all of them needing your support. And that's what I mean when I say, like, you're not short on content. You need a system that, turns minimal pieces, especially if you're a new business owner and you're just building this portfolio into many pieces of content, funneling them into your business in some way, shape, or form. And that shift has to happen before the rest of the framework matters. If you don't see your existing work as evergreen assets, like I was showing you, The visibility audit, intentionality isn't going to help you because you'll just audit with nothing in it, and the intent filter doesn't help you because there's nothing to filter. The lead path doesn't help you because it was put on a platform with a short attention span. Evergreen mapping is the step where the raw material gets recognized. And once you see what you actually have, every other step in the framework is going to give you something to work with. So I know I said I wouldn't do like a deep dive, but I do want to talk about the other parts of the veil method just so you have a clear sense of what they do and so you understand the full system. So the visibility is a diagnostic step. Before you change anything, you audit what's already happening or sometimes not happening on your account. Are you not getting a lot of traction? Are you not getting a lot of outbound clicks? The most common thing that I see when I do a visibility audit is that someone has a Pinterest account with boards named things like my work or just inspiration. And there's beautiful work pinned to them, but nobody is going to be searching for the term my work. They're gonna be searching for Charleston wedding photographer or modern home office design or six-figure coaching business. Like, they're looking for things to help them get to the next level, whatever that level may be. So if your boards aren't named the way that your ideal client searches, Pinterest doesn't know how to show your content to them. So the work remains invisible not because it isn't good, but because the system doesn't know how to categorize it. So V is where you really find those visibility killers. Like none of it's hard to fix. You just have to know where to look. And so that's what that part is for. I is the filter. So once you can see what's there, you have to decide what actually belongs. And so, what that looks like in practice is a wedding planner has been on Pinterest for years. They have about 18 boards, but their boards called favorites, things I love, maybe even venues I love. And some of them are getting impressions, but none of them are attracting the ideal client. None of them are, pulling in traffic because none of them are connected to anything that she actually wanted to book. Meanwhile, with the intent filter is the process of looking at all of those boards, looking at the pin content and asking questions like, does this attract my ideal client? Does it connect to something I want to book? Anything that gets no's gets cut or made private. Get rid of those boards. But anything that gets a yes gets invested in. So most people end up with a much smaller, much more focused account after this step, but that's really the point. We want to narrow down who we're attracting so that we make sure that who we're working for doesn't make us want to burn our business to the ground. And then lastly, L is like the last mile fix. And this is the one I feel like most Pinterest strategies quietly fall apart. A venue owner I've worked with, has, beautiful Pinterest account, pins are getting saved, pins are getting clicked, the pin is doing its job, but every one of those clicks lands on either a contact page or simply says, we'd love to hear from you with a form and nothing else. It's not leading them to a gallery or, a sense of what it feels like to get married there. I've looked at boards for other graphic designers and it leads to case studies, but there's no pop-up that says once they scroll down, join like here's a lead magnet that aligns with this type of content, or there's no hyperlinks inside of it leading them to other pieces of work. They have to go all the way down to the bottom to the contact form. And most people don't do that. So we really want to give them a full sense of the job. The pin did its job, but the destination does not. So it's a full, I know we started with the branding and the website with Miriam, but like they go so well connected. Like I can bring traffic, but if the strategy on your website doesn't align, they're going to jump ship because it's confusing or it doesn't feel like the right path. So L is where you map the path from pin to inquiry. Every pin needs to land on a page that's ready to receive the traffic, whether that's a gallery, a blog post, a write up, a service page, or product page. Give someone enough to want to take the next step. And your inquiry form needs to be visible and easy to find, but we also need to convince them of how it is to use the product or to get married at the venue. Something. It needs to be intentional for the leads to work. So when the full veil method are all working together, the system is going to start running on its own. It's going to compound on top of each other and you won't feel like you have to be online all the time because a stranger who you've never met is going to search for what you do or find your pin, find your service page. They're going to click through a page that tells the story and how to reach out. And you didn't have to post anything new because the content was already built in a way to do that heavy lifting for you. So, like going full circle, I guess Miriam gave you the strategy, the branding foundation, the clarity on who you are and who you're for, who you like to work with. And then, I'm giving you the discovery engine. Pinterest is the system that takes that foundation and makes it findable for years by the right people. And together, that's a marketing system that's going to compound again and again instead of feeling like you have to reset or rebuild every 24 to 48 hours. So I've walked you through the full veil method. If you have any questions, now is the time to put them in there. I do have a Pinterest strategy playbook that if, you want a deeper dive into all four letters of the veil method, I can drop the link, but overall, I really just want to hear from you guys. What are your questions?
Thank you so much, Dana. So if anybody has questions, we are recording this webinar. So if you don't want to go on camera, you can just share your questions on the chat in the chat, or you can also just unmute and let us know your question and we'd be happy to answer them. Again, we did share that this webinar was pitch free, right? So we're sharing information on how you can reach out to us. I personally will be reaching out to every person that registered for the webinar, also for the people that are here to share with you something special for joining today and for being part of this. So you will receive something extra for joining after the webinar. You can expect that in your inbox in the next couple of days. And one thing that I wanted to share that I like about what Dana has been sharing is that the word compound, because we don't really feel that when we're posting on any other platform. We feel like we really need to be posting every day or to be paying ads or to do a lot of things to actually be and remain visible. And having a platform that actually can create this compound and not expire after a few hours, that's really great. Another thing is that everybody's on TikTok. Everybody's using Facebook. We're all trying to fight for our place on Instagram. And we may all be using Pinterest, but not for our business. So that's kind of weird, right? Because we're there, but we're not using it for leads or for clients. So I think it's kind of like an untapped opportunity for a lot of us. So Michael says no question, but I like the detail that you gave us on using Pinterest. Great. So Karina has a question for selling products. Does Pinterest has way to sell products like, for example, Instagram or TikTok? Thinking like TikTok shop and all those things.
It doesn't have like a TikTok shop, I'll say that. But Pinterest has its own like commerce features. So everything should start with setting up a business account because then you have features of like the Pinterest trends, you can create the boards, you can really look at the analytics, but then you can create a what's called like a product catalog and these product pins that you can pull in live pricing, availability, there's direct buy links on there. If you have products that can fit like different body types, Pinterest has been doing really good about when you search on something, like when you search, you can then select the body type and it'll only show you like clothing that fits your body shape, which I really love how it's been doing that. So most Pinterest commerce will still drive the click out to your own site or your Etsy, Shopify, wherever it is that you're selling. So buying will happen on the storefront, not inside of Pinterest like it does on TikTok. So that would probably be the biggest difference. But you can create those catalogs that stay like in sync with your website or wherever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I personally know Karina's products, and I think Pinterest would be great for her because again, like you just said, Dana, like we're not short on content. We have photos of our products. We have projects that we've done. We have inspiring photos for clients that so they understand what we do. We have a lot of different assets that we can already share there without it having to be a carousel or a reel or a YouTube video, all those other platforms that require all of that from us. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions
Any
for
other
me or Miriam?
questions? Don't be shy.
Hi, Miriam. This is Brittany. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you, Brittany? I saw Brittany and Darian. I'm like, they're together taking the call?
Mhm.
Cool.
Yes, we are. We're both here. Wait, is there a way to
Awesome.
see us or no? You guys have blocked out the video, huh? Okay, that's
Uh, no, yeah, we can see
Did
you.
I?
If it just says that it seems like your camera's disconnected because it's like it's showing a
Yeah,
camera and then
it's
like
oh, that's weird.
you can't show
There it is.
you can show your face if you want.
Yeah. Oh
Hey, what's up?
my gosh. Well, and
Thanks
Dana,
for
nice to
joining.
meet you.
Nice
Yes,
to meet you.
we had a one-to-one, so we're like, okay, I gotta log into the webinar. So here we
You.
are. Thank you so much for just the incredible information again with just branding and just all the options and things that we really don't look into. I mean, it was very insightful. So I appreciate both your guys' knowledge is coming together and just really like giving that inspirational side of it and just like showing people like, hey, like this is what you can do to really like brand yourself. So I appreciate you guys sharing that. And I truly believe this is useful to any business, any solo entrepreneur who was just looking to see like, where do I start? Or what am I doing wrong? Or what am I missing? Any of the gaps, right? So
Yeah.
I appreciate all the knowledge and everything in your time for doing this. And thank you both. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I also know Brittany and Darian's businesses. So again, what I'm thinking is like businesses that are service based and stuff like that. What you can find, for example, on Pinterest is a lot of like checklists and tips and like even printables, right, related to services that people are looking for. Of course, I think Darian, he would have a lot of things to share, like, visually because of what he does, but I'm just thinking also on Brittany's side, like, how she could exploit Pinterest in this case, but thank you so much for joining, guys. Do you have any questions you would like to throw at us before we wrap it up?
What was the E in the veil method again?
Yeah.
Evergreen.
I think we when there were the slideshow when it was going through each letter, I think we skipped the E.
No, well, no, because I just talked about E. The like
Oh,
all of
okay,
those
okay,
things. That
okay.
whole thing was E.
Okay. Okay, got it, got it, got it.
The whole
Okay,
thing was
perfect.
E, and then I just touched on
Evergreen.
the other letters quickly.
Awesome,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
paying
perfect.
attention.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you everyone for being here. We want to be mindful of your time. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out after. I mean, we're still available. It doesn't mean that we're not going to answer any more questions after the webinar. I hope this is not the first and last time we do this. Dana and I connected through a networking group online. She's 3 hours away from, well, not 3 hours away, 3 hour difference from Oh, not 3 hours away, but, there are difference for me, but we've been coordinating to bring this to life and just we discover how our, expertise can come together and help people and help businesses succeed. So, thank you all for being here. Dana, I don't know if you wanna add something else before we end the webinar. Thank you.
Honestly, I think that's it. I'm going to get this recording and clip out like the earlier parts, but I will get that out to everyone by tomorrow morning. And if any, like I had my contact information on there and you'll all get an email. So if you have questions after you're mulling over it and something new comes up, please feel free to email me. My inbox is always open. Like I said in the beginning, I can eat, sleep, and breathe all of this content, like this topic. So you will not bother me in any way, shape, or form. I love to help answer
Awesome.
questions.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.